Dan Bongino has been on a wild ride. He went from Epstein crusader to joining the Trump administration to then help cover up the Epstein crimes as well as Epstein's accomplices to realizing, oh, actually MAGA doesn't like when you do that. So then he claimed that if Trump doesn't fire Pam Bondi, I'm out of here. And then he was out of there. For 2 days, he refused to do his job, and then he came back all sad, and Pam Bondi was 100% not fired. So Bongino's ultimatum was set aside. And for the most part, since then, you haven't really heard anything from him because he's in a very difficult position where he was reminded by all the higher ups that he really has no power and they don't care if he leaves. And so he's now getting a demotion, the latest bit of insult to the injury. He's now going to be sharing duties as co-deputy director of the FBI with Missouri Attorney General Andrew Bailey. But don't worry, he's not mad about it. He tweeted, "Welcome," with 3 flags. Yeah, everybody loves when that happens to their job. He's not crying at all in his office next to Kash Patel where he can hear the toilet being flushed every time. No, his life is so great. So what's this about? Why are they bringing this guy in? Well, Andrew Bailey is a total Trump toady. He's a reliable ideological ally of Donald Trump's, and he's also was the Missouri Attorney General. So in theory, he actually has a little bit of experience that lends itself to the job, which Dan Bongino very much did not. And so it could be that this is the end of the humiliation tour of Dan Bongino, or it could be this is just a pretext to him going back to his podcast to get a month or two, being evicted from the administration, and then he can work to try to win MAGA back over, which I will remind you, he kind of tried to do a few weeks ago in a very vague way. So he put up this long message. Remember, this is when people are mad at him because he was covering up for the most notorious sex predator in American history. And he goes on to say, "What I have learned in the course of our properly predicated and necessary investigations into these aforementioned matters," he's definitely looking up vocabulary words, "has shocked me down to my core. We cannot run a republic like this. I'll never be the same after learning what I've learned." When the deputy director of the FBI is writing tweets like it's a YouTube clickbait thumbnail, you know that he's going super hard trying to win people back over. What he's doing there is saying, so like I used to talk about the deep state and how I was gonna root it all out. Well, now I'm part of the deep state and I'm not cool anymore. So what if there was a deeper state? And I'm never gonna tell you who it is, what it's about. You got nothing, it's super vague. It does leave me, Sabrina, with one final follow-up question though. Where them Epstein files at, Dan? I know you're not doing much the last couple weeks. Could you see fit to spend a few minutes releasing the files? But I don't think he's gonna do that because no matter how many references to the deep state he might make, he is still an active participant in the cover-up of Epstein's crimes and Maxwell's crimes. Is Dan Bongino saying anything about Ghislaine Maxwell being moved to a cushy new little resort to stay at? No, because he's in on the cover up. He's just in a very pathetic way trying to distract MAGA from that dark realization. What do you make of this?
I think it's interesting that a lot of conservative Republican voters, that this is the issue, the party of family values and pro-life. They don't care as much about families violently being torn apart and terrorized by ICE right now. But the Epstein files is where, they choose to hold their elected officials like feet to the fire. Not all of them, but some. So it's interesting that this is more of a top priority. And if this is what it takes to, finally turn on them, then I'm going to take the win. But I hope they continue to, be banging at his door and at the very least ask for the release of those files.
Yeah, they need to keep doing it. And obviously, in response to all these tweets he puts out, it's all just release the files, release the files, release the files. But he's not. He's not. I guess there's not time. Like I want it or whatever, but that doesn't make it the biggest priority. Did you know a guy threw a sandwich in DC? We need every man working 24/7 on that thing. Forget this elite pedophile thing. The Republicans were never really that into that. No, throwing a Subway sandwich. That's the truth. We need a hero right now because of those heroes. Anyway, With that said, let's jump to one other thing that maybe could bear fruit. So the House was experiencing a lot of pressure too to pretend to be taking the Epstein thing seriously. So James Comer was like, I want the Epstein files. And now supposedly, starting on Friday, some of the files will be given to James Comer, not to us. They're not being released. They're not going to be put online. They're not being put in binders and being handed to influencers or whatever. Some are being given to one of the most corrupt members of the Republican caucus. And so that's cool. Meanwhile, don't expect Comer to really work hard to uncover the truth. He put out a statement saying, the DOJ just needs more time to hand over everything. I mean, they've only been in office for 6 months at this point. And I appreciate the Trump administration's commitment to transparency and efforts to provide the American people with information about this matter. Yeah. They've been working so hard and they're super transparent. I mean, the markers weren't that they used to cover up Trump's name in the files. That was the opposite of transparent. But yeah, they're really set on getting to the bottom of this. So I don't expect much to come from that. But Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna, they've been working on a separate House vote. And I think Anna Paulina Luna's kind of into that too, to force the Epstein files to be declassified. That could potentially come next month. I don't know, Sabrina. I'd just like something, some truth. I'd like the pressure to at least force Donald Trump to sit in a room with some of the victims and pretend that he cares about the lifetime of pain they're experiencing. I just want something to remind me that good things can happen. Any final thoughts?
I think that, they're just holding on to those Epstein files because they just have to spend so much more time redacting them because they know that, all their pals are in there. They know Trump is in there. So it's no surprise that Trump does not want these to get out. But what bothers me is that the people who voted for him, the conservatives who care so much about the Epstein files, if you care about sex crimes, why did you elect Trump? Why did you not believe all of the women who have already spoken out about him? You don't actually care about sex crimes if it gets you, if it gets you what you want, because your leader is one of like the biggest sex pests of them all, and they're perfectly fine with it. So I am a little bit confused by the hypocrisy.
Yeah, they are. They're perfectly fine with it. They love him. They don't care. They don't care about the accusations against Hegseth, the variety of different guys in the White House that have been accused of harassment and assault and beating women. It's never bothered MAGA at all. If you enjoyed that, then make sure that you never miss another video by subscribing. And if you want a little more, consider hitting the join button and becoming a member. So you're probably wondering, why would I do that? Well, when you do that, you get access to bonus content that I make every single week, and it's a lot of fun. You get custom emojis and more. If you join at tier 3, by the way, you even get access to a monthly member hangout with myself. And you'll get all that going forward, but you'll also unlock years of the back catalog that is literally 100 or more bonus clips and top 10 lists and debates and more. So what are you waiting for?